Welcome to All Basket Gaming. I'm Geralf and this is Vajandil.
Hi.
And today we're going to be talking about
The
this.
game we played in 2021.
And
So beautiful cover.
yes, the cover is very beautiful. However, this is the this is the alternative cover, so it doesn't actually show the name of the game, but it is Carrion, and this actually has a really nice and thick manual with it, or actually once again it's a manual / art book. So there's pictures of what happens in the game, and also a very big thank you and some sort of official seal of assurance by Special Reserve Games. I don't really know what that is all about, but yeah. So there's quite a few games where you can sort of play as a monster, but usually those games are the kind of games where the monster that you're playing as is probably a skeleton or a vampire or something like that. A very humanoid kind of creature, and also the sort of special moves or whatever your character can do. It's usually pretty normal in that even though you're playing as a skeleton or a vampire or whatever, those you could still be sort of imagining the character as a normal human hero who's just traversing the land. They can do normal jumps and they can do normal slashes with a sword and stuff like that. So you might as well be playing as a human hero.
Yeah, now I want to know examples. Games where the Vampire Masquerade is all about being a vampire, and
I thought that game sort of did the vampire side somewhat nicely, but it's once again it's like you're playing as a human who's just the human, or basically your vampire is wielding weapons the same way that any other human would be wielding weapons in a game, of course. I mean, I remember wielding these giant hammers and stuff like that, which isn't really like they're maybe too heavy for normal humans, but since it's a game, you could imagine a normal human wielding a hammer like that. So it's more about the social aspect and stuff like that, where you see the vampirism side.
And even if it's just not a monster per se, but a creature, animal or something, they usually are more of a humanoid. I would say I'm thinking about an owl boy and all that sort of stuff. There are games with animals like Okami is very pretty neat and all that, but that's also a hero game. You could basically replace that with a human.
Yeah, I think like wolves are sort of the exception in both Okami and Ocarina of Time, not Ocarina of Time, but Twilight Princess. You do get to play as a wolf, and they do have some sort of wolf-like abilities. Well, I don't know, Okami does wield a sword, I guess so, and other stuff like that. But anyway, the point is that in this game, you play as a monster and you're actually a monster. This is, you have all these monster-like abilities, and the way you move, the way you slither around is very monster-like. And I really like especially the way you move. It's kind of like if you imagine like a spider, but a spider that's constantly, instead of having to decide that okay, I'm going to shoot a web there and go there, you sort of shoot webs all around all the time. So whenever you decide that okay, I'm going to go that direction, you shoot a web there, and you can just like a hundred of us millisecond later decide that no, actually I'm going to go there, and it immediately shoots a sort of web to that direction.
In this case they are just multitude of tentacles latching onto everything and anything that's nearby and making kind of a it felt like this collection of minds doing stuff for the common good, for the entire husk of how would you say, Carcassonian creature.
because that's what you actually are. You are sort of like a lump of meat, so to say. And indeed, the way you regenerate in this game, if you do take damage, is that you need to eat people, and that will, you sort of consume flesh, and you make that part of your lump of
biomass
flesh.
was the term.
Yeah, biomass. And there are parts where you can leave that biomass because as you upgrade your monster, it gets bigger and it gets new abilities, but it also forgets some old abilities because now you're so big that you can't necessarily do something that requires more dexterity. And in that sense, sometimes you need to use those old abilities, and that's why you need to find these spots where you can safely leave a bunch of your mass there to wait for you, and now you have less mass and you can use those abilities that require you to be smaller.
But otherwise the size doesn't prevent you from entering smaller places. It just becomes thinner and longer creature.
So that's one other thing that was done very, very well in this game, the air ducts. Because I think there's been quite a few games where there's sort of these latched on gimmicks where you're playing the game and you're learning the game, and suddenly at some point the developers decide to put an air duct or something in there, and for the most part you don't even realize that because you played that game without using air ducts at all. But in this game, if there's any logical reason why there would be an air duct in some area, then there's going to be air ducts. So there's a lot of air ducts all around, and you can either use them or not use them, depending on how you want to approach any situation. And it's because you're just this lump of mass, it's really sort of funny how the mass goes into the air duct. And especially once you get like really, really large, sometimes the air duct isn't big enough to hold all of you. So you try to go into the air duct, and yeah, you can go pretty far, but your head tail is sort of still hanging out from the air duct or something.
Yeah, it's a very horrific creature, but we started to like him. It a lot. Kind of a cute little thing scurrying around, all bloody and all, but cute nonetheless.
And especially because you can not only like shoot your tentacles to attack enemies, but you can also use the tentacles to sort of interact with all sort of objects. So there's levers and doors, and it's really fun when you're this giant horrific mass and you have one tentacle latching itself to a door and then opening it very neatly.
And of course there are humans involved in this game. The premise is that you are a creature that's been found from somewhere. That's not very clear how this creature was found. Was it in a meteorite or something? But nonetheless, they're stuck in this scientific military base where they've probably conducted some experiments on it and such. And at the start of your game, you start pressing your button and get out of your jail and start wreaking havoc and finding a way. It's just an animal wanting to find a way out of there. When you really think about it.
So the premise of the game feels really natural. You're just confined and you just want to get out. And that's the whole point of the game, basically, to get out of there.
You could change the roles and make this creature a human, and the others are some aliens who have abducted you, and you instantly realize or understand that this is a bad situation, and the roles are just changed, and you are the horrific creature, but they just want to get out. Simple as that.
And the humans there are, of course, they're trying to prevent you because, who wants to let this horrific creature get out there? And of course, they're just trying to defend themselves and so on. And it was also, I really like the fact that, not all humans are hostile. Some of them are just scientists who are there, and when they see you, they just try to flee and cover in the corners or whatever. And it's a strategic decision for you whether you want to sort of kill them or let them be, or sort of save them for later. If you take damage later on, you can come back and then you can eat them and now get your health back or your biomass back.
Isn't it Castlevania or Metroidvania kind of game in the end? You have to gain abilities to progress.
Yeah. So first of all, it's not a very long game. I guess that's my only problem with it, that we were having a lot of fun, and it would be nice to have a sequel or more gameplay like this. But yeah, for the most part, it's not a very long game, and it's pretty. It is more or less indeed a Metroidvania Metroidvania-like game, but it is designed so that it feels, for the most part, very clear where you're supposed to go. And in that sense, even though it's not completely linear, it does somewhat feel like a linear game, just because it's very clear that this or that direction is where you need to go now.
Even though you have multiple directions, you pretty much always know, somewhat have an inkling where to go.
Yeah.
Even if you go to the wrong direction, this creature is so nimble that you can backtrack very fast.
Yeah.
It's not a problem to go to wrong places or backtrack to some other previous areas, because there are something to gain in each area, because this is sectioned off into areas and you have to do a couple of things in each area to unlock the final road to freedom.
Yeah.
So it's very straightforward in what you need to do, and you just have to find your way further along, or find, I don't remember anymore what the things you had to do in there. You had to break some container in each of them areas.
Yeah, you need to break some things to open the locks to open basically routes to new areas.
The doors are made of 2 to 5 sections, and the creature starts pulling them each away from the center, and they all have to be pulled in order to open up fully.
Yeah,
that's pretty neat. Also, it's very natural feeling. Also, the save spots are very very creature-like. You find these holes where you just make this kind of a nest and infest it with your biomass, and that's your save spot.
Yeah, that's that's really the great part of the game, in that they incorporated this monster element into everything. So it's, even as mentioned, even the save spots aren't just you go into some machine and it flashes and that's saved or whatever. It's indeed something very natural to a monster like this for the save spots. And one thing that I especially liked was indeed the movement. As I mentioned, you sort of move as if you were like this very nimble spider who can just move anywhere, and it didn't feel like, or essentially it's kind of like if you didn't see all that biomass and all those tentacles flying around, you would think that the creature that you're controlling is just hovering in the air, because that's essentially what is doing, or what the controlling is like. But the reason why the monster can sort of hover in the air anywhere is because it's throwing those tentacles all around and sort of latching on to everything all around. And yeah, this was just I'd like to say it's just a great game overall.
And aesthetics are very nice looking also. It's a pixel graphics style game, but it has a lot of, I think they are 3D objects. Those humans and some other objects felt like they're 3D, but they are just made the resolution so it looks like 3D.
They've condensed the resolution so that it looks like a old-timey game, sort of.
Looks nice, felt nice, very nice package. A little on the short side, but that's also might be the strong point of this game, that you can have fun with it in a single evening and be done with it very nicely. And I always appreciate it when a game is a complete package and feels like you gained something from it. A nice experience or something novel or anything, and you feel like you closed the book and that's fine. It ended.
Yeah, and I think that I need to check, but I think that this is still being sold physically as well. This by it says Devolver Digital here. I can't remember if this was from Limited Run Games or that other side. I need to check it out.
Yeah.
But I think indeed you can still find this physically if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, and if that's how we first encountered this game. We saw a trailer in those Devolver Digital has this.
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4 years they've done this E3 press conference comedy. Or they make fun of E3 press conferences with their own press conference, and one of those had this Carrion trailer, and we were both immediately interested in that game. From the very start, when that creature comes out of their containment unit and starts breaking havoc, we see this is something unique. This is so neat. Finally, you're able to beat this creature. Non-human creature, and the gameplay has been imagined around this creature.
That's really something I've been wanting to experience or wanting to have for a long time. Like any and all sort of games where you play as a monster and indeed that monster's abilities come into play. Like if you're playing as a skeleton, I'd really hope that there would be a game where you don't have hit points, you just have your sort of your skeleton, and when enemies hit you, then you break and you can just sort of try to put yourself together and so on.
And maybe use other people's bones to reassemble yourself.
Yeah.
Take full advantage of the creature you are using.
Yeah, I'd really hope for more games like that. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I'd really like to play those. And if you haven't played games like this before, we really do suggest Carrion. It's a major 17+ game, so for adult audiences, of course, but it's a great game. And I sort of hate using the term experience, because I guess it gives certain kind of connotations to people. Like when you say that some game was a great experience, maybe they imagine something like a walking simulator or whatever. But this one, I think it was a really great game, and the controls are great, and the abilities are great, and everything is just really nice.
It's a fun game.
Yeah, all in all. Yeah, really highly suggested.
Yeah.
So, that was our review of Carrion. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Bye-bye, and see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.